The Learning From pages focus on realistic portraits. This includes the correct proportions and drawing of the facial features. The students will also practice drawing Renaissance men's hats. The students will create their own realistic portraits, typical of the Renaissance period in which Da Vinci lived and worked. Emphasis in the directed drawing lesson will be on realism, details, and coloring. Make sure these vocabulary words are included in the art lesson: realism, detail, texture, line, shape, and portrait. Here are the supplies needed to complete the project. You will appreciate the simple paper preparation for this lesson. Be sure to demonstrate as you explain. Have students follow you step by step. Men during Da Vinci's life nearly always wore a hat. It was in fashion and it helped keep them warm in cold weather. On Sundays, the law required men to wear hats. We will start at the top of our vertically placed paper to draw a hat. We will first mark where we will start drawing our hat. Find the middle of your paper and just above that, mark it with a tiny, barely visible dot with your marker. Starting at your dot and drawing toward the top, create a hat brim about 3 fingers width. Demonstrate how to measure from each side of the paper with your 3 fingers together. Your shape should resemble a hot dog, a peanut, or a banana. It should reach nearly to both sides of your paper. Next, we will add a hat band that will be a different size and shape. We will draw it on the top of our first hat brim shape. Placing your fingers at the top of the hat brim, measure 4 fingers width in from each side of the paper and make tiny dots. Starting at one of the dots, draw a narrow band about 2 to 3 fingers wide that follows the line of your hat, the top line of your hat. Make it stop at the dot on the other side. It should not be the same width or length as your first hat shape. To finish the hat, draw a curved, floppy shape from the top of your hat band. Make it reach clear to the top and sides of your paper. Add details to decorate the hat with your marker. On the hat band, you can add a pattern. Demonstrate easy patterns such as zigzag, diagonal, parallel, or crosshatch lines. Circles and diamond shapes might also be added, or something entirely of your own creation. Solid coloring should not be a choice. You may choose to decorate the hat further with a plume, feather, buckle, or hat pin with quick marker lines and no solid coloring. Now you are ready to draw the outline of the beard and long hair. Put a finger on one side of your narrow hat band. With just your finger, trace a straight line to the bottom line of the hat. Starting there at that same place with your marker, form the outline of the long hair. Draw a straight line to the bottom of the paper to form the edges of the hair and beard. It could also be a little curvy as well. Repeat on the other side. All men in Da Vinci's lifetime wore beards and had very long hair. Demonstrate each facial feature and the proper placement before the students follow step by step. To prepare to draw the nose, place your finger halfway between the bottom of the hat and the bottom of the paper. Make a very tiny dot with your marker to mark the spot. This will be the bottom of the nose. To find the placement of the mouth, measure and mark 1 or 2 fingers below the nose dot. Next, we will place the eyebrow line. Measure and mark 4 fingers up from the bottom of the nose dot. Starting at the center eyebrow dot, draw an uppercase L between the 2 highest dots. To draw the eyebrows, start at the top of the backwards L, connect and draw a long curved eyebrow. On the other side, copy the shape and length of the first brow to make it look the same. To go over the eyebrows to thicken and darken. Now draw 2 U-shaped curved lines to show closed eyes. Make them about the same width as the eyebrows. For more advanced students, suggest open eyes drawn in 2 stages. Top, line like a rainbow, bottom line with a smiling face. Add the round iris and solid pupil. Draw a straight line or slightly curved line to show the mouth. Make it the right size for the face, about the length of your pinky finger. It should not extend past the center of the eyes. Now let's do the mustache, beard, and hair. Have each student point on their own face where a mustache would grow. Yes, it is between the nose and mouth. Should it connect to a beard? Yes. With short, close together, vertical marker strokes, draw the hair of the mustache, about 10 or 20 strokes. Beyond the mouth, drop your short lines down to allow for hairless cheeks. The mustache should then connect up to the hair just a small distance from the eyes. With many lines to create the texture of the hair, draw vertically to the bottom of the paper. Remember, the men always wore very long hair. Demonstrate that the vertical lines can be wavy, curly, or straight. It's their choice. Completely fill in the beard and hair, leaving the mouth line clearly showing. Leonardo was born in Vinci, Italy. It was common during this period to include the geographic location. So Leonardo da Vinci simply means Leonardo from Vinci. By the age of 17, he was already known as being an extremely smart and talented young man. His father knew his son had unusual talents and sent him to study with a well-known artist for 7 years. From there, he catapulted to fame until his death at the age of 67. When he died, his treasured painting of the Mona Lisa was still with him. Demonstrate the whole water application before passing out the student's water. Watch the marker drawing turn into something special. Using a Q-tip as a brush, dip one end in the water and quickly trace over each marker line in the direction they were drawn. Is the water being applied with the end of the Q-tip or the side? Yes, definitely the side. This is important. Take time to demonstrate the proper horizontal holding of the Q-tip and have the children try it also. What happened when water is added? Yes, it magically turned the marker to paint. Continue to work down the paper, adding enough water to change the marker lines into paint. Your paper should not become really wet and heavy, but use enough water to make the magic happen with only one tracing. If your Q-tip becomes too floppy and unusable on one end, what should you do? Use the other side. To add realistic shading, you can pull the color over from the eyebrow down to the mustache on one side. When you are finished, let it dry on your desk because there is one more step to complete your beautiful Da Vinci portrait. Da Vinci was commissioned by royalty throughout his life. He was listed in the registries of many royal households, in both Italy and France. Leonardo's gracious but reserved personality and elegant bearing were well received in court circles. Highly esteemed, he was constantly kept busy as a painter and sculptor and as a designer of court festivals. He was also frequently consulted as a technical advisor in the fields of architecture, fortifications, and military matters, and he served as a hydraulic and mechanical engineer. As he would throughout his life, Leonardo set boundless goals for himself. If you trace the outlines of his work, or for his life as a whole, it could be described as a grandiose, unfinished symphony. He once said, "Art is never finished, only abandoned." When your artwork is dry or almost dry, carefully and slowly cut out your portrait, leaving a small border, about 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch, of blank white paper around the whole picture. This is called bubble cutting and sets off the drawing without ruining any exterior lines. The bottom will be different with no blank paper showing. If desired, the bottom edge may be slightly fringed to resemble a realistic beard. On the reverse side, run a thin line of glue or glue stick around the portrait and mount it on the brown paper. Make sure all your edges are glued down. And then you will have a finished Renaissance portrait. Students will write their name on the front of the profile slip, which is then glued to the back of the completed project. Encourage them to discuss their artwork at home using this information. Taking their inspiration from Leonardo da Vinci's portraits, the students created their own realistic portraits typical of the Renaissance era. Their finished portraits exhibit the hat styles, long hair, and beards of the time, while also teaching shading and proportions of drawing faces. And, like the Mona Lisa, are any of the men smiling, or can you tell?